Hello students, Joint Stock Company Lesson 1. In today's class, we study Joint Stock Company meaning, definition, characteristics, advantages, disadvantages. We also study kinds of companies, one person company, features and exemptions, promotion, stages of promotion, promoter, characteristics and kinds. Now, let us define company and study the characteristics of a joint stock company. Company. As per Section 220, the Companies Act 2013, company means a company incorporated under this act or under any previous company law. According to James Stephenson, a company is an association of many persons who contribute money or money's worth to a common stock and employ it in some trade or business, and who share the profit and loss as the case may be arising therefrom. Now, let us define joint stock company. Professor L.H. Haney defined joint stock company as a joint stock company is a voluntary association of individuals for profit having a capital divided into transferable shares, the ownership of which is a condition of membership. According to the Companies Act 2013, joint stock company means an association of individuals working together under a single separate legal entity registered under the Companies Act 2013. It has limited share liabilities of shareholders who contribute to the company's stock. Features of joint stock company. We have 7 features: separate legal entity, limited liability, perpetual succession, company seal, transferability of shares, separate property, capacity to sue. Separate legal entity. The law considers a company as an entity which is separate from its members. Even though the company is regulated by the board of directors, it is a separate legal entity which is independent from its members. Basically, the money and property of the company belongs to the company but not to the shareholders. Limited liability. A company can either be a company limited by shares or company limited by guarantee. The company in which the liability of the members is restricted to the unpaid value of the shares, then it is considered as company limited by shares. Whereas the company wherein the liability of the members is restricted to a certain amount which the members may undertake for contributing to the assets of the company during the process of winding up is considered as company limited by guarantee. Perpetual succession. Even though the members of the uh, company change or die, the company exists. A company is developed by a process of law and can be ended only by the process of law. It is considered as a juristic person which has perpetual or infinite succession. A company does not die and is unaffected by the insolvency, mental disorder, or retirement of its members. Common seal. A company does not possess any physical existence, so it performs through its agents. All the contracts of a company which are entered into by the agents should be under the common seal of the company. This common seal serves as an official signature of the company. Transferability of shares. Generally, the company's capital is divided into parts termed as shares, which are freely transferable to the shareholders. The shareholders are not required to be devoted to a company permanently. Separate property. A company can own, enjoy, and dispose the property on its own name as it is a legal person who is different from its members. Capacity to sue. Through its corporate name, a company can sue and can be sued. A company can sue one of its own members for scandal when it incurs any loss, as a company is a separate person from its own members. Now, let us focus on the advantages and disadvantages of a joint stock company. Coming to the advantages, it has 6 advantages: financial strength, economies of scale, limited liability, efficient management, stability, transferability of interest. Financial strength. A public limited company has the ability to acquire large financial resources. The capital of this company is divided into small parts for drawing the attention of the people with limited sources and for inducing them to buy these parts. This helps the company to enjoy the high credit position. Economies of scale. A joint stock company has a continuous expansion and deals with large financial resources. It can acquire the economies of large scale operations. Limited liability. In a company, the liability of the members is restricted to the degree to which the unpaid amount on the shares held by them. The personal assets of a member are secure, and he will have the knowledge about the degree or extent of his liability. Efficient management. A company can appoint specialists in various areas of business. An integrated experience and judgment of the directors helps in taking stable and effective decisions which lead to efficient management. Stability. A joint stock company has perpetual existence. Any change in its management and ownership does not influence the continuity of the business. Its perpetual succession is beneficial to its members as well as to the society, as it is effectively utilizes all the resources and manpower. Transferability of interest. A public limited company can transfer its shares freely. This gives liquidity to investment and motivates the attentive and conservative investors for buying the shares. A company represents the shares in stock exchange for making the investors aware about the value of their holdings. Coming to the disadvantages of a joint stock company, we have 6 disadvantages: legal formalities, lack of personal interest, corrupt management, oligarchy, excessive statutory control, delay in decisions. Legal formalities. Generally, the establishment process of a company is difficult, time consuming, and costly. It also involves various legal formalities, and several documents have to be framed and filed with the registrar. Lack of personal interest. As a company is managed by the directors and paid officials, they mostly do not take any personal interest in business. A company does not have any direct connection between effort and reward. Corrupt management. There are chances of occurrence of fraudulent management in a company. The dishonest or corrupt persons can involve themselves in certain malpractices for cheating the investors on their earned money. Oligarchy. In a company, the management is considered as democratic, as the directors are the elected representatives of shareholders. A small group of directors can misuse the powers of shareholders and can work against the shareholders' interest. Excessive statutory control. Heavy regulations and rules are imposed on the functioning of the company by the government. It is done to safeguard the shareholders' money as large amounts of public money is involved. The employees have to fulfill various formalities at every step, and penalties are imposed if they do not complete the formalities. Delay in decisions. In order to take crucial decisions of a company, meetings must be conducted, resolutions should be passed, which leads to delay in the process of decision making. Now, let us differentiate joint stock company with partnership firm. Let us take some 10 to 11 aspects and differentiate joint stock company and partnership firm. First, let us focus on the registration. In joint stock company, registration is mandatory for starting the business, whereas in partnership firm, registration is not mandatory. Regulating Act. In joint stock company, a company is regulated or governed by the Company Act 2013, whereas the partnership firm we use Indian Partnership Act 1932 and it governs the partnership. Membership. In a joint stock company, minimum number of members in a private company is 2 and maximum is 200, while the minimum number of members in public limited company is 7 and maximum is unlimited. Coming to the partnership firm, the minimum number of partners in partnership is 2 and the maximum number of partners is not described in the Partnership Act 1932. Coming to the legal status, in joint stock company, a company is different person from its members and it has a separate legal existence of its own. In partnership firm, a firm is not considered as a separate legal entity and does not have separate legal status. Transferability of shares. In joint stock company, shareholders can transfer or sell their shares freely, whereas in partnership firm, a partner can transfer or sell his shares only after obtaining other partners' approval. Contracts. Joint stock company, the shareholder can enter into a contract with the company. In partnership, the partner is not liable to enter into a contract with the firm. Management. In joint stock company, the board of directors, who are generally elected by the shareholders, manage the company. In partnership firm, the partners manage the firm except in the case of any dormant or sleeping partner. Existence. Joint stock company has long lasting perpetual existence. A partnership firm does not have perpetual existence. Liability. The liability of the shareholders is limited in joint stock company. In partnership, the liability of the partners is unlimited. Death. A company is not affected by the death of a shareholders. In partnership, the death of a partner can even lead the dissolution of partnership. Winding up. Joint stock company can be wound up through court. Partnership firm is wound up easily with no legal formalities or involvement of court. Now let us study the privileges enjoyed by a private company. The private as well as public companies are governed by the provisions of the Companies Act 2013. Some provisions of this act are not applicable to a private company, and these are considered as special privileges which a private company enjoys over a public company. The privileges of a private company are: a private company, the minimum number of members is only 2, which is against public company. A private company does not consider any provisions involving minimum subscription before the allotment of shares. Private company is not essential to file a prospectus or statement in lieu of prospectus with the registrar. A private company can issue shares without passing special resolution or acquiring the approval of a central government, and it is not essential to provide to the existing members. A private company, soon after its incorporation, can commence the business. A private company can issue share capital in any type, in any form, and with any voting right as it may consider as appropriate. It is not necessary for a private company to maintain a register or index of members. A private company should not conduct a statutory meeting or file a statutory report. The provisions relating to the overall maximum managerial remuneration and the remuneration to directors may not be applicable to the private company. Under a private company, the minimum number of directors found to be 2. Now, let us study kinds of companies. As per Companies Act 2013, companies which are registered under the Act are classified into different types. We have private company, public company, registered company, statutory company, unlimited liability company, limited liability company, holding and subsidiary company, government company, foreign company. So, private company. Section 268 of the Companies Act 2013 states that private company is a company having at least 1 lakh of paid up capital or more. It does not grant the right to transfer shares or invite subscription to shares or debentures from public. It does not accept or invite deposits from people other than its directors, members, and their relatives. Moreover, its membership is restricted to 200. Private companies are classified into 2 types: one person company, small company. As per a provision of Section 262 of the Companies Act 2013, one person company means a company which has only one person as member. Small company, as per Section 285 of the Companies Act 2013, small company refers to a company other than public company which has a maximum paid up capital of 50 lakh rupees. It may have higher paid up capital as prescribed by the Act, but it should not be more than 5 crores. It refers to a company which has a maximum turnover of 2 crore rupees from previous profit and loss account. It may have a maximum turnover of 20 crore as prescribed by the Act. Public company, as per Section 27 of the Companies Act 2013, public company is a company other than private company which has a minimum paid up capital of 5 lakh rupees or more as prescribed by the Act. Registered company. Registered company means a company which is registered under the Companies Act 2013 or any other previous company act. The Registrar of Companies grants a certificate of incorporation to all registered companies. Such companies can be incorporated as either unlimited liability company or limited liability company. It can also be incorporated as a private or public company. Statutory company. A statutory company refers to a company incorporated and governed through a special act passed by the state legislature or the parliament to perform special public undertakings. It does not require articles of association or memorandum of association. Its annual report is needed to be presented to the state legislature or the parliament every year. Some of the important statutory companies are the Reserve Bank of India, Food Corporation of India, Life Insurance Corporation of India. Unlimited liability company. As per Section 3(2) of the Companies Act 2013, an unlimited company is a company which has unlimited liability of the members. Its liability is extendable till the complete amount of liabilities and debts of the company. Limited liability. Limited liability company is a company which has a limited liability. It is divided into 3 types: company limited by guarantee, company limited by guarantee having share capital, company limited by shares. Company limited by guarantee, a company which has liability of its members limited by the memorandum to a certain amount contributed by them, is called company limited by guarantee. Company limited by guarantee having share capital. A company limited by guarantee having share capital refers to a company which has liability of its members limited by the memorandum to a certain amount contributed by them. Moreover, um, he or she may also require to contribute additional amount to the extent of amount which remains unpaid upon the shares held by him or her. Company limited by shares. Company limited by shares refers to a company which has the liability of its members limited by the memorandum to a certain amount remaining unpaid on their shares. Holding and subsidiary company. As per section 287 of the Companies Act 2013, holding company means a company which holds complete control of another company. It has the power to control the composition of the board of directors of another company. In addition to that, it also controls more than one and a half of the total share capital. It may exercise its control over the share capital on its own or by collaborating with few other subsidiary companies. Subsidiary company means a company which is controlled by a holding company. Its board of directors composition and one and a half of its total share capital is controlled by the holding company. Government company. As per section 245 of the Companies Act 2013, government company refers to a company whose 51% or more paid up capital is held by the government. It may be held by the central government, state government, or both. A subsidiary company controlled by a government is also called as government company. Foreign company. Under section 2(4) of the Companies Act 2013, foreign company refers to a company or body corporate located outside India. It conducts its business activities in India on its own or through an agent, either electronically or through any other modes. Differences between private company and public company. Members. In a private company, the minimum number of members involved is 2 and maximum 200. In public company, the minimum number of members involved in a public company are 7 and there is no limit for the maximum members. Transfer of shares. The shares are strictly transferred and governed by its articles in a private company. The shares are freely transferable in a public company. Public invitation. It is not liable to invite public for subscribing its share capital, whereas in a public company, it can invite public for subscribing to its share capital. Name. It is obligatory for a company to specify the word private limited at the end of its name. A public company has a limited at the end of its name. Privileges. In a private company, the privileges enjoyed are many. A public company does not enjoy any privileges. Number of directors. The minimum number of directors in a private company are 2. The minimum number of directors in a public company are 3. Restrictions on appointment of directors. There are no restrictions in a private company with respect to the appointment of directors. In a public company, the directors should file with the registrar their consent for acting as director. Legal control. A legal control or legal regulation is less in a private company. The legal controls or regulations are very strict for any public company. Loans. The directors of private companies can borrow from the private company. Directors of public company cannot borrow from the company. Paid up capital. Minimum paid up capital in a private company is 1 lakh. Minimum paid up capital in a public company is 5 lakhs. One person company features and exemptions. As per provisions of section 262 of the Companies Act 2013, one person company means a company which has only one person as member. One person company means a private company which is started and promoted by one person. According to section 3(1) of the Companies Act 2013, one person company refers to one shareholder corporate entity. The liabilities of an one person company includes financial and legal liabilities are limited to the company itself. In India, JJ Expert Committee recommended establishment of one person company. In the new Companies Act 2013 allowed the formation of one person companies in India. It can be registered as limited by guarantee company or limited by shares company. The individual responsible for the company should subscribe his name to a memorandum. Moreover, he should comply with rules prescribed by the Act while registering the one person company. Features of one person company. A one person company is incorporated as a private limited company. It requires only one member and one director. As per the Companies Act 2013, it is necessary to mention the words one person company below the company name in brackets. One person is allowed to incorporate and become nominee in only one person company. A minor is not allowed to become a member, nominee, or shareholder in one person company. If paid up capital crosses rupees 50 lakhs or annual turnover is greater than 2 crores in the 3 preceding consecutive years, one person company will lose its status. Relaxations to one person company. It is exempted from preparing cash flow statement. It is exempted from holding an annual general meeting. It can include one director's signature on the audited financial statement. It is exempted from specific provisions related to general meetings and extraordinary general meetings. It is exempted from providing the director's signature on the annual return compulsorily. The company secretary can also sign annual return. It can hold one meeting of board of directors for every 6 months. The gap between two consecutive meetings should be at least 3 months, 90 days. Coming to the promotion, stages of promotion. According to Gerstenberg, promotion is the discovering of business opportunities and the subsequent organization of funds, property, and management ability into business concern for the purpose of making profits therefrom. According to L.H. Haney, promotion is a process of organizing and planning the finance of a business enterprise under the corporate form. Promotion means the process of preparing, planning, aligning the various inputs needed for proper functioning of a business. It is the first and most crucial stage of the process of developing a business idea into a running business. It includes various activities such as identifying new business opportunities, understanding the feasibility, arranging the requirements, raising funds for implementing the business plan, etc. A specific individual called promoter is responsible for carrying out the various promotional activities of a company. Stages of promotion. First stage is generating an idea. In the first stage, promoters have to form an image of a specific type of business in their mind in which there is scope for carrying out the business profitability. Investigation. In the second stage, the promoters examine the demand and supply of the product which has to be produced along with the cost of the project. Project requirements. In the third stage, promoters plan and gather the project requirements which are needed for carrying out business operations such as raw materials, plant and machinery, suppliers, etc. Financial requirements. In the fourth stage, promoters collect the financial resources and allocate them to different business activities performed by a promoter. Additional factors. In this stage, collection of factors of production and financial resources, preparation of documents, naming the company, appointment of bankers, brokers, underwriters, etc., obtaining a license. Therefore, promoter plays an important role in the incorporation of a company. Now let us focus on the characteristics and kinds of an effective promoter. As per section 269 of the Companies Act 2013, promoter means a person who has been named as such in prospectus or is identified by the company in the annual return referred in section 92, or who has control over the affairs of the company directly or indirectly, whether as a shareholder, director, or otherwise, or in accordance with whose advice, directions, or instructions the board of directors of the company is accustomed to act. So, from the definition, it can be concluded that a promoter is a person who initiates an idea about the formation of the company, launches the company, makes an entry into all the preliminary agreements, buys the property on his own name, and gives it to the company during its incorporation. Characteristics of promoter. Promoter can be an individual, firm, association, or a company. A promoter is responsible for handling the affairs of the business till the company is incorporated. A promoter is responsible for promoting the company and is answerable by law for his job. A promoter develops the idea for formation of a company and plans all the details of a company like its nature, place, capital requirement, etc. A promoter transforms the ideas into reality by contributing his efforts. Prerequisites of an effective promoter. A promoter should be sincere and hardworking towards his job. A promoter should be capable of exploiting the external situation. A promoter should be creative and imaginative in his thoughts. A promoter should take an initiative and should take the actions before the other party takes. A promoter should have an inventive ability in his thoughts. A promoter should have flexibility in the ideas. Now let us focus on various types of promoters. We have professional promoters. Professional promoters promote a firm and give it to its shareholders by paying certain remuneration. Occasional promoters. These promoters promote the company in which they have an interest. They carry on with their actual business after the company is promoted. Financial promoters. Few financial institutions consisting of various finances carry out promotions of company. However, they require favorable financial environment to take up the promotion of a company. Managing agency promoters. Managing agency promoters promote the companies in order to retain interest in the firm and to become the managing agents. Technical promoters. Technical experts utilize their specialized knowledge, experience, and training in exchange of fees to promote the new business. Entrepreneurial promoters generate new ideas, design and take steps to control and manage new business. Specialized institutions are financial institutions which provide financial assistance, management, and technical expertise to promote new and existing enterprises. Government promoters. Most of the cases, central and state governments act as promoters for new business which involves huge capital and risk and comes under public sector or joint sector. Now, let us study about the duties, liabilities of a promoter, remuneration of a promoter. A promoter is placed in financial position towards the company. A promoter without the approval of a company is not liable to make any profit and is pressurized to hand over the profit. A promoter should disclose all the crucial facts associated with the property and contracts, his interest and profit to an independent and competent board of directors or to the shareholders of the company. A promoter is held responsible for all the misleading statements in the prospectus. It is very essential to him to review that the prospectus or statement in lieu of prospectus do not include any false or misleading statements and should include all the essential aspects as per the Schedule 2 or Schedule 3 of the Act. A promoter is held responsible for compensating any individual who subscribes to the capital of the company because of the irregular or misleading prospectus. A promoter is criminally liable for the breach of trust and false statements represented in the prospectus as per the Companies Act. A promoter can be sued for loss of breach or violation of his fiduciary duty. A promoter is criminally liable for the imprisonment of maximum 2 years or a maximum fine of 50,000 rupees if he or she makes any untrue statements in the prospectus. A promoter is responsible for his activities relating to the formation of the company and also to the third party for the contracts entered on behalf of the company before its incorporation. Remuneration of a promoter. A promoter does not have any right to receive any kind of compensation from the company for his services. He can receive remuneration when a promoter enters into a contract with the company for the services provided by him. A promoter is not liable to receive any remuneration with regard to the payment made by him in relation to the formation of the company if there is no such contract. A promoter can obtain remuneration for the services in a promoter for cash or fully paid shares can sell his own property at profit to the company if he discloses about this effect. A promoter can be given an alternative by a company to buy a specific number of shares. A promoter can obtain a commission on the purchase price of business which is sold to the company. A company can pay a lump sum to a promoter. Thank you very much.